When you walk up to the vehicle with the key, it has the full proximity system. It actually has a little light that flashes on the key when it senses the vehicle and the vehicle senses it. But right now, nothing is turning on because I have it set to where it doesn't automatically unlock the doors. So if that's set like that, then it'll basically do nothing. When you hit the unlock button, or if you have that setting turned on, you turn the unlock, hit the unlock button, then the interior lights turn on, the front and rear lights turn on, but also you have this approach light. They help you navigate the ground to get to the vehicle and see what you're stepping in. This is all good. This is what the headlight switch looks like. You basically just press this button and it cycles through the different modes here. Automatic, parking lights, that's off. Turns everything on automatic first. Turns off automatic. Turns off the headlights, just having the parking lights on. Now everything's off. Now when you have this on, you can hit this button for the poor weather lights. They call it poor weather lights. It's basically an alternative to a fog light. When the vehicle's running, you do have the ability to turn off all the exterior lights and actually drive this way. When I turn on the parking lights, it has pretty cool effect here. It has these LED strips that serve as daytime running lights as well. And there's also illuminated Volkswagen badging here in the center. Now some vehicles have these illuminated badging. They don't turn on until the headlights are on. This one, they go ahead and turn on with the parking lights, which is great. So if you're sitting in a parking lot and you don't want to have your headlights on, you can go ahead and switch to parking lights and you look really cool. So yeah, it has this illuminated badging, really, really sharp and cool looking. Then it has that light that goes all the way from one side to the other, and then it kind of wraps around the headlights housing here. Nice and sharp, but not overly bright. You're not going to mistake these for headlights and accidentally drive the vehicle like this. There's not much light that's shining in front of the vehicle. There's also an amber side marker here in the front. There's also the tail light actually wraps around to the side of the vehicle, serving as a side marker. And it has this really cool effect. It kind of looks like alien writing in a way. It's kind of neat. And it's red tail lights. It also has a illuminated badge back here as well in red. Nice and sharp, not quite as bright as the front, but it has a nice subtle look. They're just very impressive. The tag light is also on now. The turn signal here in the front is just basically that lower half of the LED changes to amber and is flashing, but it is super bright. It's much brighter than that white light. It's pretty much blowing out the camera here, so let me lower the brightness. Hopefully you can see that. So yeah, it's a nice bright and large light, so everybody can see it good. And then the turn signal indicator here on the side mirror is amber in color. Not that bright, but it is visible from the front to the side and the rear. It's a little bit brighter looking this way. And the turn signal here in the back is an amber color light, LED of course, and it is disconnected from the taillight, which is nice, and it's a different color. So yeah, that's really good, and it's a decent high position. It's not, some vehicles have the taillight turn signal too low, and this one's about perfect, I think. There is a third brake light at the top of the glass, and then the reverse lights are there on the tailgate, basically on the inner portion of the taillight housing. All right, let's go ahead and turn on the low beams here. And you can see the clear cutoff. We're gonna drive down the road. You can see what it looks like on a dark road. But the low beams are, now this has a projector headlight system. If you can see in there, there's two projectors, and this lower one is the low beams. And then you'll see when the high beams are turned on, they'll all join in and be really, really bright. There's also a replacement for a fog light. They call it a poor weather light, and it kind of shines right in this area, and it shines closer to the vehicle. So let's step back here a little bit, see how that cutoff, how low the cutoff is. So this is a high vehicle. Yeah, it's about almost 3 feet off the ground, the cutoff. Above that, I can look directly at the headlights, not blinding me at all. So all the light is shining down this way, about 2.5, 3 feet off the ground for the low beams anyway. So let's go ahead and switch to the high beams right there. I gotta say, very impressive headlights on the vehicle. You'll see when we start driving. All right, so now we have both that upper portion and that lower portion is very bright. So both of them are fully activated. And it's hard to tell, you know, just kind of standing right here. But as you get in certain places, it's just like directly in your eyeballs, you know. So yeah, the high beams are really well done. So let's go ahead and toggle that poor weather light, they call it. So there you see it's kind of closer to the vehicle, like so. And it also has a cornering light as well. It uses the same light, but as you turn to the left, it'll turn that side on. If you turn to the right, it turns that side on. So yeah, even at low speeds, high speeds, or whatever, it's going to give you the cornering lights if you don't have those all-weather lights already on. This cargo light is actually pretty decent because it has 2 lights, one on each side, and you see that it illuminates even in this pocket area. So it's a bright light. It's a broad light that goes around, kind of a floodlight, I guess. So you can see this light shines in this pocket, and then it illuminates the cargo area pretty good, eliminating shadows because there's 2 lights. They're both bright, and they do a fairly decent job. I would say this is an adequate lighting system. Now, of course, it could be better if there was a higher position here, possibly even under the lift gate here, because if you have a large box above those lights, you notice these lights are kind of low. So if you have something larger above that level and you're trying to look into it, you can't see anything. So although you can see just small items or groceries here in the back, there is situations in which it could be limiting. So there is, you know, having a light at the very least right here under there in a high position would help out a lot. The inside of the back door, it does have this puddle light. So you notice this red has a red lens this way, but under here it's actually a white light. So under here is shining on the ground, seeing what you're going to step in when you get out of the vehicle. But that little red light kind of helps out with you know, oncoming traffic or whatever. There's also a pocket light here, illuminates this area. There's also these ambient lights here. We can change the colors on them. Also a handle light. So yeah, not too bad. And the interior lights here, coming from there's one light on either side of the sunroof, and it does have light interior, which helps out. But even then, these lights are bright enough to where we can see the black floorboard. We can see pretty much everywhere in here. Pretty impressive because the brightness level is good, and also, you know, they're kind of like floodlights in a way where they're not just pinpointing just on the seats. But you notice they're not too much in this area, so they're not going to blind passengers. So yeah, really well done. And then there's a USB ports down here that are backlit, and then you have heated seats back here, also backlit. The inside of the driver's door, same thing with the puddle light. So under here is a white light, and then has the red lens there for safety. There's pocket lights here. Then there is a ambient light, handle light. All the buttons are backlit, including the door lock switches, which is very important to me, unlike some vehicles. So there's some floorboard illumination there, and the lights here in the front are coming from those 2 lights there in the center, and they spread out the light nicely and do a good job. But once again, you notice they're not shining on the headrest where your face would be, so they do a good job of illuminating everywhere except for right in your face, you know. So I have the door open. Let me go ahead and shut it so you can see what it looks like here. Go from all the lights on, shut the door. Now we have the interior lights, the backlit buttons, and the floorboard illumination. See that? It's actually pretty good. All these you can adjust the brightness on. The ambient lights here has like a little design there on the dash, looking pretty cool. All these you can change the color. Same thing on the back there, the lights. When you change the ambient color, it also has the ability to change these colors. You notice I have all of them like a pink, like a hot pink, so you can see the drastic difference in the color here between that light and the backlit buttons. So you can see here on the steering wheel, gauge cluster, screen. Below the screen there is there's a little wireless cell phone charger in here. There's no light though. So yeah, there's no light right there. The compartment's dark. The cup holders are illuminated. Has a little subtle light there at the bottom. There's the shifter is illuminated. There's a little pocket right here which has no light. This compartment here has no light except for a USB port which is backlit. Let me turn on the interior light here so you can see what I'm talking about. Hopefully you can see that. But yeah, that's dark. This pocket's dark. This console here's this little area here where you put your cell phone's dark. This interior light is making my camera, that flashing you're seeing is not, it's just my camera doing that. The glove compartment does have a light in it. Nice one, really nice one. Let me go ahead and turn on the interior lights. Yeah, that's a really nice, bright but not harsh. It's really nice. That's one of the best glove compartment lights. It fills in the whole thing without being too harsh. Nice. But I wish this compartment here would have had a light. There is a light down here in this compartment. I don't know if you can see that. Turn the brightness up. That compartment there. It's kind of under this. So that's pretty good. So yeah, really liking this little design they got going on over here. So here on the screen, you can go to the vehicle here. They really need to streamline this software. It's a little bit, there's too many steps basically, especially while you're driving. So let's go to interior, let's go to ambient light, and you can have the dark or light design here. So let's go to the ambient light here. We can turn it off, turn it on. There's the instrument panel lighting here, brightness. So we'll bring it all the way down. Go ahead and bring that up. Turn everything bright. It's too bright for nighttime. Dark. So we can have the automatic color will change like for the drive modes basically. But I like to customize it. You can also adjust the brightness. So like the doors, brightness here, and that's the pocket lights basically. So as I bring it out, the pocket light, right in here, this pocket light right here is what we're adjusting. And then you have the footwells with floorboard illumination. You can adjust the brightness there. And then it has the surfaces in which you can adjust there as well. Not really seeing much difference when I do the surfaces. Okay, it was just that little design thing over there. So we can adjust the brightness of that independently. Okay, so let's go here to the color, and basically you can just kind of slide it, and it has all kinds of different colors here. Let's go to a red. It's kind of like a salmon red, I guess. All the way to the left is like a white, but the screen goes to blue. So I guess on certain colors the screen has to be a different color, because otherwise if you put the screen to white it might be too bright when you have it in dark mode. So let's go bring it back over here. Let's go to a nice blue. Go to a green. Yeah, that's looking good. Go all the way to the right and see what that is. It's kind of like a peach color, I guess. Try to nail a purple here. I like the way these lenses right here for the lights. You don't actually have to touch them. You just put your hand close to them and they kind of turn on. But I like the way they have a little backlit frame so you can find them at nighttime. See if we can adjust yeah, you can adjust the brightness. You basically just hold it for a second and then it'll lower the brightness, and then when you want to have that brightness, then you let go of it. Go ahead and tap it hard to turn it off. And you have the sunroof controls are illuminated, the roadside assistance as well. The visors have a mirror with a light. That's a nice subtle light there. It's kind of bright, but it's not, I don't think it's gonna really blind you too much. It's actually pretty good. Nice soft light. So you can see the headlights go through the range of motion. They'll go up and down and kind of left and right because they are auto leveling and you know, auto moving headlights basically. Every like active bending or whatever they call it in the Volkswagen group, but yeah, it's just as you turn the steering wheel, the headlights will follow. And then the auto leveling is a system that'll keep, in certain scenarios, keep the headlights from going up too high for blinding other drivers, depending on if you have a lot of cargo in the back or passengers, or if you're flooring it, that kind of stuff. So you can see the cutoff there. It has like a little jaggedness to it, and that's supposed to be a little shadow that lines up with the oncoming lane. And we'll see how well that works. I do appreciate the cornering lights, especially on it's not too dark in here, but if it was darker, it would definitely help out a lot. So it has the lights that move, but also adding those cornering lights really is a nice touch, you know, because the movement of the headlights, they don't really move enough to really help out in real sharp turning situations. And this does have a really good turning radius, so you can kind of zip around in a tight spot and have that little light turn on when you need it. Now the heads-up display is pretty good. I mean, it has, even if you put the brightness really high during the day, sometimes it's too dim because it has like this auto brightness feature that I don't like, because it does whatever it wants even if you turn the brightness up. So there's the movement of the headlights there, but it only does it when you're going forward. When you're going slow, you have to kind of be going a little bit faster. It's like 5 or 10 miles an hour, and then they'll start moving. So you can see that movement of the headlights there. And it's pretty precise. It seems like it, but you notice that shadow will move. See, that shadow is intended to line up with the oncoming lane. So depending on which way you're aiming the steering wheel is not necessarily the oncoming lane. But when it's straight like this, it seems to be lined up fine. It's a little bit on this lane, but seems to be okay. And you notice that going up and down hills, that auto leveling system is not really going to do a whole lot. It's mostly when you have, like when you floor it, floor it like this. It lifts up the front end, but then you notice it kind of pushed those headlights down a little bit. I don't know if you saw that, but or if you have a bunch of cargo and passengers in the back and it's kind of squatting the back. But as far as like going up and down hills, you can see that the line is bouncing up and down. It's not, you know, with the bumps in the road, it's not actually keeping it level all the time. But yeah, the low beams, I mean, even with that poor weather light off, it does a good job of illuminating all the way close to the vehicle on the sides of the road and the distance and everything. Yeah, the movement of the headlights is, you know, on the roads I drive, it doesn't really matter. The cornering light's more important to me. Alright, so down here is pretty dark, so we'll see. Hopefully there's no cars, or not many. Okay, so there's the low beams, and yeah, it does a great job. Illuminates the side of the road, in the middle of the road, there's no patchiness, really. The movement is kind of gimmicky, but it has it. So let's go to the high beams. Yeah. So the high beams, I can see the trees in the distance, no problem. And since all the lights are illuminated, 4 lights, you have 2 projectors on each side, and then it just fills in and it penetrates a good distance as well. So I have the automatic high beams turned on, and they seem to work fine. Let's go back to the high beams here. Okay. So yeah, it does a good job of penetrating down the road very far. You see those trees, and now this is a challenging road actually, because the trees are a good ways off, like 50 feet or so off the road. So the headlights have to go really far in order to get to the trees, you know. So yeah, when things are close to you, of course the lights, it's easy for headlights to do that. It's when you have a really broad, expansive place and that you're trying to illuminate the whole thing and see well, that's where the challenge comes in. And these headlights are meeting that challenge for sure. These are definitely really good headlights. Yeah, very impressive. The brightness, the pattern, the fact that it has additional light with the high beams and not just refocusing a single light. The movement of the headlights, you can see, you know, I guess a little bit on a really, really sharp turn or something might help out. So you can see I'm just kind of emphasizing a sharper turn there. But yeah, you can see the shadow kind of moves around though. But yeah, and it does it on high beams or low beams. You can see that movement of the headlights there. We'll turn on the poor weather lights. It's just mostly right there and close to the vehicle. It could help out, you know, in snow or rain or whatever. But just like a night like this, it's not really a huge deal at high speeds. It's mostly, you know, in like a tight area where the cornering lights turn on anyway. So yeah, these are definitely above average headlights. You know, I wouldn't say necessarily the best headlights, but they're really well done. You know, they're really, you can tell that they made them with purpose. You know, they just didn't put some lights in the front of the vehicle and call it a day. They actually tried to make them a set of headlights that work really well at night. So yeah, very impressed, and I think you'll be definitely happy with these headlights. And with the low beams, they're not blinding people. You know, they do a pretty good job of keeping all the light low and illuminating well for you to see. It's just and then the high beams are they're just excellent headlights.